To the President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's a real honor to have the ability to rise in the House to honor Brian Mulroney, who, in every interaction I ever had with him, was a compassionate, intelligent, caring human being. I first met Mr. Mulroney when I was in law school, or just about when I graduated from law school, and I went to Florida with my friend Jonathan Cohen, and we were in Palm Beach. And Brian Mulroney was doing a jog/walk down the path, and the two of us saw the former Prime Minister and went up and said, Mr. Prime Minister, we're from Montreal. And he looked at us and he goes, Anthony Housefather, how are things going at Alliance Quebec? Like, I was the president of this volunteer organization, and he knew who I was from having read about me like once in the paper. That was how incredible this man's mind was, how sharp he was. And he stopped his jog/walk and took 20 minutes to talk to me and my friend on the path in Palm Beach. And that was so meaningful to me as a young lawyer. He offered advice, he offered mentorship, and throughout his career, I guess his later career, when he went back to the practice of law at Ogilvy or now Norton Rose, there were various times when you would get to speak to him, and each and every time he offered such insight, such compassion, so interested in everything that we all were doing. He would remember things that you told him about your life, about your family, about what you were interested in, about what your hopes were. And he would repeat it back to you the next time. And he so loved talking about his family, and he was so proud of them. Whether it was his wife Mila, who he loved so dearly, or Mark, who I know better than the other Mulroneys, who I think is a great, incredible guy, or Ben, or Caroline, or Nicholas. He was so proud of his family, and he had a right to be, because they all emerged to be exemplary citizens of Canada. But he was such a good person, and I guess that would be the reason I wanted to get up today is because people look at a Prime Minister, and so many Canadians are just in awe of the person who's Prime Minister. They love him, they hate him, whatever, but he's a different person than an ordinary person. And despite all of the things he accomplished in life, whether it was creating free trade with the United States, and he was really the one responsible, as Ambassador David Cohen told us today, in fact, at the observance when he went to see and pay homage to Mr. Mulroney, the great relationship between Canada and the United States started with Brian Mulroney when he and Ronald Reagan had that Irish summit. And whether you agreed or didn't agree with Brian Mulroney, he always stood up for his principles. He always made a difference. He always cared. Et comme je dois vous dire, comme
And I also have to say, as a Quebec Anglophone, Brian Mulroney was exemplary as an Anglophone in Quebec. Well, he spoke both languages fluently. Not only did he master French, but also Quebec's culture. He was someone who was perceived as Francophones during a time when Anglophones and Francophones weren't always exactly the same, or the two cultures were mixed. He was able to move between these two cultures in a very exemplary fashion.
That even in my last interaction with former Prime Minister Mulroney, he was such a compassionate human being. Last December, he saw me on television and saw that I was upset about the government's vote at the UN on Israel. And he took the time to call me on my cell phone to tell me how proud he was of me. And that made all the difference. Right before Christmas, when I was feeling down, he brought me up. So rest in peace, Prime Minister Mulroney. You did so much for Canada. The whole country is in your debt.
Resuming debate.